difficult moments in history, including the Holocaust, including the Civil Rights Movement, and a number of other complex time periods in history. Some of your teachers, I know, use some of our materials in the classroom. I know that you guys have been studying the Holocaust. You've been studying about Weimar Germany. You've probably studied about some of these other areas as well, where Germany expanded into. And most likely you've looked a little bit into concentration camps, death camps, etc. Today we're going to be looking at a specific story of Marika's, and it's really connected to the country of Hungary. The country of Hungary. So if we can just look at the map real quick. So if we look at the country of Hungary, it's to the southeast of what was known as Greater Germany during the time period of the early 1940s. Okay? And you're going to want to pay specific attention to the city of Budapest, which is the capital of Hungary. And it's also important to know that while the Nazis were a political party at the time that had control over Germany and the areas that it occupied, there were other fascist political parties. There were other political parties that were very like-minded to the Nazis. There was one in Spain during that period of time. There was one in Italy during that period of time. And there was one in Hungary as well. And the one in Hungary was known as the Arrow Cross. I know some of you read a story called The End the other day, which mentioned the Arrow Cross. And so I'm just going to give you a few facts about them and Hungary before I turn it over to Marika. So between July and October 1944, the Jews within Budapest lived in relative safety. However, when on the 15th of October, the Hungarian government announced that they were going to make peace with the Allies, the Germans toppled, they overthrew the government. They gave power to the fascist and anti-Semitic Arrow Cross Party. So the Arrow Cross Party is the Hungarian equivalent, or very similar to the Nazi Party. The Arrow Cross began a reign of terror across the city. Almost 80,000 Jews were killed. Many victims were shot at the banks of the Danube River, and their bodies were thrown in the river. In addition to that, many thousands were forced on death marches to the Austrian border. Now, in December 1944, while the Soviet army laid siege or were attacking Budapest, around 70,000 Jews were forced into a ghetto. Many thousands died of cold, disease, and starvation. And so there was a reign of terror by the Arrow Cross Party. Many thousands of Jews in Budapest were were saved by the Relief and Rescue Committee. There were people who were rescuing these Jews at the same time. Foreign diplomats such as Raoul Wallenberg from Sweden and Karl Lutz from Switzerland helped Jews achieve safety through international protection. Hungary was liberated by the Soviet Army, the Red Army, in April of 1945. However, by this time, 568,000 Jews, Hungarian Jews, had perished during the Holocaust. And so that's just a little bit of information to orientate yourself to Marika's story. I'm going to turn it over to Marika Barnett.
Thank you. Since Rossi was kind enough to tell you that what happened before I will start with them Thank you very much for sitting. How did I choose them? Not randomly, would have been probably wiser in this particular time. I chose mostly girls because nobody wanted. All the children only had a chance if they were hidden away by Gentiles or hidden away in convents. Nobody wanted to hide the boys because the boys were circumcised Jewish boys, and they did examine them, believe it or not. So nobody wanted to hide the boys. The girls had a much better chance. I chose both in the boys, I chose most in the girls, also taller ones, assuming that the taller you are, the stronger you are, you will be able to steal the food from the others. It was necessary. You had to steal the food from the weaker ones. That's how you survived. Okay. With that, I will start on March 19, 1944, when the German army decided to occupy Allied Hungary. That's when the Holocaust started for me. I never forget it as we woke up on a Sunday morning, March 19 was a Sunday, and the Russian tanks were going on the Buda side. You knew that Budapest is Buda and Pest? Everybody knew that? Of course. So I lived on the Pest side and overlooking on the Danube, actually on some of the pictures shows a house, and we saw the Buda side and the tanks and the German army was going non-stop. That's when the Holocaust started for me. Within a week, we were told to wear yellow stars on our 10 centimeter diameter yellow stars on our clothes. In the country, things were very different than in Budapest, and you have to keep it in mind that there is a reason why I'm still alive, because Budapest it didn't happen in Budapest like it happened in the rest of the country. The country they divided into 20 districts. Budapest was the last one, and they started by coincidence exactly with my mother, when my mother's family was in northeast Hungary. By April, so keep in mind March 19 is when they come in, by mid-April all the Jews in the country had to go to the nearest railroad station. They were living in crowded condition, and they were going, they put them on train by May 13, my mother's family, that was the earliest. By May 13, they were shipped to Auschwitz in cattle cars, crowded cattle cars, without food, without drinks, without any kind of facilities. For days they were going in these cattle cars. My mother's family, most of them, immediately, as soon as they arrived to Auschwitz, they were taken to the gas chamber. By that time, Auschwitz was very well organized. They were waiting for the Hungarian Jews. There is a Hungarian platform there. They call it to this day Hungarian platform that was built to expect the trains with the Hungarian Jews. You know, Germans are very organized people. They know, they prepare things well. So my family went immediately, most of them, to the gas chambers. Children, everybody under 16 officially, everybody over 40 who could not work, and those who worked were temporarily went into the campsite. They went to write, and out of my family, just to get to the, and only one cousin returned, a 22-year-old girl. That's the only one who survived from a large and very healthy family. in Budapest things went slower. And as a matter of fact, when the systematic deportation of the 19 districts ended, there were 20 districts and they got to Budapest, the deportation stopped. That is the only reason I am here today to talk to you. If that didn't stop, as a 10-year-old, I would have never survived the Holocaust. So the reason I am here is because two brave Slovakian Jews were in Auschwitz. They heard the SS, how they planned to occupy Hungary. They knew ahead of the time. In Auschwitz, they were better informed than the rest of the world. And they overheard, they understood German, they heard that the SS says, we're going to occupy Hungary because these miserable Hungarians are not loyal to us and they want to join the Allies, we are occupying them, but we don't have enough people and I don't know how we're going to put them into these wagons, the train, because we don't have enough assets to send them. So, Rudolf Grabal and Fred Wetzler, two Slovakian Jews, decided if we could only warn the Hungarian Jews to rebel and not to go on the trains like cattle, not to resist it, they actually have a chance. Let's escape from Auschwitz and warn them. They did, the first ones ever to escape. And when they got to Hungary, they warned the Hungarian Jews who actually did not believe them or did not take them so seriously. They wrote what is called, and still you can read it, the Auschwitz Report. The Auschwitz Report got to the President Roosevelt, the British King, the Swedish King, and to the Pope. All four of them threatened the governor of Hungary to stop the deportation and not allow this to continue. They were too late, but at Budapest, when they got to the 20th district, the deportation stopped, and because the governor was threatened by the Western, they said, we will put you on trial. By that time, 1944, March, they knew that the war is over, the Germans are losing, and they lost after the Stalingrad, when it was an important battle. The Germans were just withdrawing from Russia, and the Allies were preparing for D-Day already in 1944 March. Everybody knew that the war is over, basically, and the Germans are losing. So the governor did stop at Budapest the systematic deportation. That's why I am here today to talk to you. Now, there is still hundreds of people hundreds of people were deported. They're not hundreds, thousands and thousands were deported by train randomly, and in October 15, which we'll talk about, the Hungarian Nazis took over and they shot 18,000 Jews, 18,000 Jews into the Danube. So we were in Budapest. We didn't know, but slowly we learned that the family was taken away by train. My mother and my two aunts were living with us at that time, and we were devastated. But in Budapest, things went slower. We had to put on the yellow star, and within a few months, we had to go into yellow star houses. How were these yellow star houses decided? They counted the people. If it was more than 50% Jewish, they put a yellow star on the house, and the Jews could stay. If it was less than 50%, Jewish, the Jews had to go. They had to find some other place. Well, we were lucky. We were lucky because our house was more than 50. in the village. Five of us stayed alive here on this large. It was in 19. I think I'm about 6 years old because I'm wearing a dress that I wore as a 6-year-old. But only 5 of these people in the large family stayed alive. And so our house became Yellow Star House. We were very, very happy about it. Well, one night, a Jewish family disappeared from the first floor, and the German general with his staff moved in. He said, well, I'm very sorry. You don't expect me to live in a Yellow Star House. And he didn't. So the Jews had to go. Even though the majority was Jewish, because the German general liked this house, we had to go.
McFarland, could you contact the South office?
And I always get distracted by these things easily. So, where was I? Well, we had to find another place. We found, that's an interesting story also, but I don't have time for it. But we exchanged apartment with another family that was willing to give up their apartment, and we went to their house. So now we were in a very nice park. We were in a Yellow Star House. My aunts moved in with us, 2 aunts, so there was 5 of us. We were so lucky. We lived in a park now. Before we lived in a nice place on the shores, and then now we are lucky we lived in this beautiful park, except no Jews were allowed in the park. So we were never allowed to step in. We were children, and we would play hopscotch, and then we would step into the park just for spite. And then we went back and continued. And our parents, if they saw it from the windows, they would have killed us. It wasn't that, some Nazi will come by or a German soldier will come by and see us. It is the neighbors, the Christian neighbors, who were reporting us. And they reported us. My children, in that neighborhood, most of the houses were Yellow Star houses. I remember of 2 in the block that was not Jewish houses. No Jews lived there. And my 2 sons observed that every time we walk there, just automatically, I go to the edge of the street in front of that house. And they pointed it out to me, and I said, yes, now I realize it. All my life I went to the edge of the sidewalk because they would yell at me, Jew, get away from here, don't come near. I don't know what they were afraid of, disease or whatever, but I hate those houses to this day. And even after the war, I hated it, even though some Jews moved it back in, of course. But I personally, but to this day, I'm afraid of those 2 houses. The Hungarian thing, I'm not even sure if you mentioned it, that only in Hungary was it valid. When the war broke out in 1939, the Hungarians had nothing to do with the Germans. The Hungarian government decided that while the Christian Hungarians will go and become soldiers and fight next to the Germans and go to Russia, attack Russia, and so on and so on, the Jewish man between 18 and 48 has to work in the Hungarian work service, the Jewish work service. And this is a very Hungarian thing. It only happened in Hungary. So it's every family member already in 1939 went into the work service, into the Hungarian work service. Our uncle of mine went, he was a doctor, he thought he would we were so lucky because instead of sending him out to the Russian front, they sent him to a tuberculotic hospital. It's dangerous, to be in a tuberculotic hospital, perfect for a Jew. But he still felt very safe in this tuberculotic hospital. So much so that he smuggled in another uncle of mine who was also a doctor, but he could only smuggle him in as a patient. So now two of them were safe in a tuberculotic hospital, as safe as you can get in a tuberculotic hospital, but they were both of them in that hospital instead of out in the Russian winter. By the way, the Hungarians at some point made a point of it, collecting famous Jewish writers, famous composers, famous artists, and send them in this work service to the Russian front. Practically all of them died out there, but they had to dig mines, lift out minefields which the Russians put down in front of the German army. The German army was smart enough to send the Hungarians in the front line, and the Hungarian army was smart enough, I'm sarcastic, smart enough to send these Jewish laborers, these work servicemen, to pick up the minefield, to clean the minefields. If they were not killed by the mines, if they were not killed by the Russian winter, if they were not killed by the Russian bullets, then their guards, their Hungarian guards, tortured them to death. There is a movie, Sunshine, I recommend it. It actually describes a true story. If you have opportunity to see it, it's an old movie. It's about an Olympic fencing champion that's being tortured in the Russian winter. It is Attila Pechauer, gold winner of the 1932 Olympics, whose story it is, but it's a mild adaptation what really happened to him. And so this work service, when I grew up after the war, all my girlfriend's father was killed in the work service. They never came back from Russia. I was lucky because I had old parents, and my father was over 48, so he never had to go. Another cousin of mine whom I adored, we were 15 cousins, I was the youngest, and here, Pishta, the second one, this is my mother on the left side, and above it is Pishta, which is Stephen. I adored him. I loved him. He was my cousin. Next to it, my youngest uncle, Ferry. He is a doctor who was smuggled in as a patient into the tuberculotic hospital. This is Magda. She was pregnant, immediately went to the gas chamber. This is she's a wife. It's her house. She went to the gas chamber. These two aunts lived with us next to it. The two aunts lived with us in I wish I wrote a pointer, but anyways, she lived with us in forever until they died. They stayed with in 1944. They moved into our apartment and they lived with us. The lady next, I'm the little girl, next to me is a lady, went to the gas chamber. The daughter, a cousin, went to the gas chamber eventually. First she went to work because she was young enough, and then she got sick and they kept him. The one above is a dark-haired woman. She survived, Vera. This bald-headed man with a white shirt, he died just a few weeks before the German occupation, so he died a natural death. And this wonderful man on the very right, who was a billionaire, very, very wealthy, successful, wonderful man, one really good person, and he went to the gas chamber. So, just to tell you, so Pishta But we were again lucky, was in an ammunition factory in southern Budapest. So he could come home occasionally, then I will tell you about it. In summertime, my parents learned that if you became Christian, if you had a certificate that you are now baptized, you have a better chance of survival. So we had to learn the catechism. For weeks we went and learned the catechism. We took the exam and we passed it, and we just waited for the Catholic hierarchy to tell us when they will baptize us. We waited end of August. Finally they announced the day of the baptism. It was Yom Kippur Day. How many of you know what Yom Kippur is? Put up your hand. Or hand, I'm sorry, not head. Okay. So a few people know. It is the single highest Jewish holiday. It's a single, the one, Jews don't eat. They don't eat for 24 hours. They go to synagogue before and after. This is the one and single highest holiday in the Jewish religion. The Hungarian Catholic hierarchy decided that's the right day to baptize us. I know what you are thinking. I know exactly what you are thinking, and you are right. You are right. Every one of you right now say, what difference does it make? You're changing your religion. If you do it with sincerity and honesty, what difference does it make that now the baptism is on the highest holiday of the religion? You're leaving anyhow. You shouldn't matter, should it? It shouldn't. You are right. It shouldn't matter. If you were honest and sincere. But we were not. We just wanted to save our miserable little skin, My father, by the way, didn't take any of these courses. He said, I was born a Jew, I'm dying a Jew. So it's only my mother, my 2 aunts, and I did. Well, when they heard the day of the baptism, they said, forget it, we're not going to baptize on Yom Kippur's Day. And they didn't ask me, I wasn't going to ask. Which is, by the way, is not just a joke. That's partly why today child survivors of the Holocaust have more problems than the adults, because the adults had no control. We children had even less control because the adults were directing us. Like my parents decided that I should go into a convent, because all the convents in Budapest, by the way, were hiding Jews, adults and children. So they put me into a convent for 2 months. I didn't know it was 2 months. They put me into a convent on October 12th. 3 days later, they came for me and they said, the war is over, come, we take you home. I said, I don't want to go home, I have a good time here. It's like a boarding school. I read about so many books about boarding schools. I don't want to go home. I said, all right. They said, the governor of Hungary declared that he is joining the Allies, and the war is over, we have nothing to do with the Germans anymore, and the Jews are free, and it's all over. But okay, so stay here a few more days, and we'll come for you. But little did they know that on the very same day, the Hungarian Nazi Party, that until now was staying in the background, on October 15, the Hungarian Nazi Party took over the power. By that time, the Germans were not that active to kill Jews. In September 1944, which is, by the way, we are talking all 1944, okay? So you understood, March 1944, the Germans occupied Hungary. That's what we are talking about. On In September, Himmler called in all the SS leaders of Hungary and he said, listen, the war is over, only this idiot Adolf doesn't know it. Just save Jews, and get signatures, get money, whatever you want for it, but save the Jews because you will be put on trial after the war, guaranteed, and they will ask you, and this will help you if you have signatures that you saved Jews. Sure enough, the Germans already kind of passively stepped into the background. We didn't realize it yet, but later we learned it after the war. We learned exactly what happened. The Hungarian Nazis, however, October 15, got all upset with the governor who wanted to join the Allies. They put him on house arrest. They sent one son was already killed by the Germans. The other son they sent to Mauthausen concentration camp. And the Hungarian Nazis took over on October 15, took over the power in Hungary. And that's when the real terror started. March 19 is bad enough. The October 15 is when the Hungarian Nazis took over, and they were very diligent people. You have to respect that, including Christmas night. They would take house by house, Yellow Star house by Yellow Star house, systematically the Jews to the Danube, and 18,000 Jews were killed in the Danube. That's why sometimes you see pictures of that's my father, by the way, in front of his office, which doesn't show his business was here. So they were killing 18,000 Jews into the Danube in those days. That's what we were at that point. Oh, my father in the convents were taken down to the Danube. Also, even the nuns were taken. They were shot also. My father learned about it, ran up to the convent and brought me home into, by that time, very crowded apartment. But the Nazis were coming. We knew that any day they can come and take us to the Danube and shut us in. I started to say that you see pictures on bronze shoes along the Danube. It's a sculpture. The bronze shoes signifying that the people had to live there. What they did in the Danube is that they made everybody undress, not just the shoes, the clothes to naked. They tied 3 naked people together, and they, with one gunshot to save bullets, one gunshot, they fall into the Danube, and the other 2 just drowned, and the 3rd one died from the bullet hole. This is what we were afraid of. They still randomly took people to the railroad station, and if there was a train, they filled up a train, they took them to the concentration camp. One day they came for us. We've seen this before when they took away families crying and so on. So they told that the 5 of us have to go, my parents and my 2 aunts. And we packed something, and there was a Hungarian Nazi and a Hungarian Nazi and a Hungarian soldier. That was a usual escort. And they were very rude. They were probing and saying, go, rush. And they were very rude to us. So we went, and we didn't know where we are going. We didn't go to the Danube. We went away, but so we thought it was a collection center to the railroad station, and that's where they're going to put us on the train. I was terrified. My father kept telling me, don't worry, it will be all right. But I had heard that before, and I didn't believe him. So we were running, and these two Nazi and the Hungarian soldier were chasing us. Suddenly we arrived at the big gate. The big gate, we were banging on this gate. It was closed. Every gate in those days was closed, and every house. Well, it seemed like forever. I didn't know why are we going into this gate. It was on a big boulevard. My father's business, this business was on the side street. That's a boulevard. You see the boulevard, and this is a building on the boulevard side. We were at the gate of that building, and suddenly, finally, the gate opens. And what do I see? SS people inside. These Hungarian Nazi and this Hungarian soldier brought us to a building filled with SS. But they kept quiet. My father would talk to them for a few minutes, and then we are all going across, it seemed like forever, by the way, to me. We are crossing the courtyard and going to the back door of my father's office. My father doesn't even take his coat off. He just takes a bottle of brandy, puts it on the table, puts out oil. And this Hungarian Nazi and this Hungarian soldier is still with us in my father's office. I didn't understand it. And he takes his bottle of brandy, puts it on the table, puts out 3 glasses, fills it up. My father picks up the glass. The Hungarian Nazi picks up a glass. The Hungarian soldier picks up a glass, and he hears the 3 of them saying in Hebrew, L'chaim, for life. These were 2 Jewish boys my father asked to bring us into this building where this SS was. What about the SS? Well, only long time, I found out. It took a long time until I really found out, and now you can read about it. There will be actually a documentary film based on my story. So, Kurt Becker, SS colonel, after he heard Himmler saying that save Jews and get money for it and get signatures, he decided to do exactly what Himmler advised him, and he filled up 1,000 Jews into this apartment house. Total coincidence that my father's office happened to be in that building, but his business was on the first floor. That is a total coincidence and a great lie. My father learned about it. It is the SS that provided these escorts, these Jewish boys. They are the ones who helped to get the uniforms, the SS uniform, excuse me, not SS, Hungarian Nazi uniform, Hungarian soldiers uniform. That wasn't so difficult. And the SS actually helped it. Now we were under SS protection. We were in the back room of my father, and where he was a man who couldn't take a glass of water for himself. He was so spoiled. But he knew exactly what 5 people would need. There was food there, there was a stove there were 5 cats there. And so we lived there for a while. This was right after Christmas, so around December 27, and we went in there. And by New Year day, the bombing got so bad that we decided to go down to the basement. And the Russians were coming, and we knew that the Russians must know from spies, etc., that there are something to do with Germans in this building, and they might come with bigger force than usual. I left out 2 important things. But I continue this. We asked, there was a shelter there that only the Gentiles, only the Christians in the house used the shelter, and that was understood that the Jews were just happy to be there. We sent a committee to the Gentiles in the shelters, and just the Jewish children, the last night of the war when the Russians will come, allowed just the Jewish children into the shelter. The message came promptly. No Jews will enter our shelter. This is the last night of the war. They wouldn't let the Jewish children in. Anyways, so there was tremendous fighting, and around 3 o'clock in the morning we heard a gigantic explosion. And the gas was coming into the basement, and my mother said to me, let's sit down, put your head on my lap, and we're going to die. So we sat there and waited to die. It's boring to wait to die, you know. I was bored. So I looked up, and it was still the same, you know, the smoke started to go away, the gas sipped out on the broken windows, and I was still there in the dirty basement, not in heaven. Well, we found out that the explosion that they threw in the Russians tore out 4 stories of steel beams and cement and furniture and refrigerators and whatever, and they all came down on top of the shelter where the Gentiles was. There wasn't a single person alive. They all got buried under that thing. Nobody said anything. We just stood there quietly, respectfully, and that went away. My uncle, the doctor, who was in the tuberculotic hospital, that hospital got the Nazis, the Hungarian Nazis learned about that, picked out all the Jews from the sanatorium. My uncle, who was there as a patient and whose picture I pointed out there, standing next to the stove there, he was taken to Auschwitz and then to Dachau and died there. The other one, who was working there as a physician, he was taken with 270 doctors. All doctors, the Hungarians, all the perversity of the war, I think, all doctors, 217 of them were collected. One escaped, I even know his name, he escaped one night and the Hungarian Nazis got scared. They made the other 216 dig a long ditch and they shut them all in. And now if you look at the grave, it's Dr. So-and-so, Dr. So-and-so, Dr. So-and-so of all the perversities of the war. My cousin Pista, whom I adored so much, he was allowed to come and visit us occasionally. That's a strange thing too, but it is full of controversies, this whole Holocaust. Why a Jewish boy who's basically sentenced to death is allowed to come and visit his mother. But in any case, he occasionally came, and he was caught by the Hungarian Nazis, taken to a concentration camp near Hamburg, and starved to death, so he didn't come back. And I very much miss him and missed him all my life. That's it, approximately, in very much in a nutshell. Any questions do you have? Oh, yes.
Did your parents survive?
Yes, we survived together. I'm sorry.
Question. Repeat the question.
Oh.
Did your parents survive?
Yes. The 5 of us survived in the basement there where we were sitting, yes. By now, nobody's alive but me. But anybody else?
When your father was gathering food to put in his office to survive, did you wonder what he was doing?
Yes, good question. The troops were only allowed a few hours, day to go out. And my father went always to the office. He went to the office. What office? I mean, you know, it was not existing. Jews were not allowed to have a business anymore. He had that office there, but what? He had no business anymore. He was a bicycle wholesaler, by the way, and he had no business. But he was a man who always walked to the rhythm of a different rhythm, you know. And we gave up understanding him. My mother never would object. So he kept. That's where he went to collect. And this is a man who couldn't help himself to a glass of water earlier. And he knew exactly what 5 people would need for food and cooking and everything else. There was everything. He got it from grateful employees. He had plenty of, and that's what he did. But we did not know where he was going, so it was a big surprise for us. We did not, but it's a very good question. Thank you.
What was life like before the war started for you? Was it different?
Thank you for asking. It was a comfortable life. I was, you know, we were well-to-do, and so I was a spoiled little girl. Now, my parents' marriage was not good, so I had my own headaches, you know. But other than that, I can't say I was totally happy, but certainly I was very comfortable always. Every summer I spent in the country where my mother's family lived in northeast Hungary, and but it was a comfortable life.
How did you recover when you come to the United States, like from all the stuff that happened?
Again, a good question. Thank you. Well, okay, I just told you about the Nazis, but after the Nazis came the communists. So I lived in a communist country where they took away my father's business and they really discriminated against me. I was a capitalist. My parents protected me from the Nazis, but they could not protect me from the communists. So I was a capitalist child. I couldn't go to the college I wanted to. I was discriminated against, kicked, you know, around, and so on. I really was very unhappy until 1956 when we did the revolution. I was there when it started at my university, and we started the first revolution against the Soviet Union. Hungary started it. Within weeks, Russian tanks came in, broke down the revolution, and 200,000 people, mostly students and professional people like doctors and so on, engineers and doctors who knew that their diploma will be good outside. So we took to the border October 3, 1956. I escaped, came to America, and I live here ever since. I have 2 boys. One is a writer, one is a U.S. diplomat for the United States, and I basically had, you know, with clearly some heartbreaks, but I had a very good life in America. Okay, you were first, I think. I'll give it to her.
I recently read a book about Hannah Goslar. Have you ever heard about her or met her? She was also a Holocaust survivor.
Hannah, I haven't, but sometimes I'm so ignorant that it surprises me.
This is just out of curiosity. Did you happen to know a man by the name of Istvan Sezak? He was my great-grandfather. He was Hungarian.
And lived here in the Boston area?
Well, he's not alive anymore, but he did live in Hungary. I was wondering if you might know.
So does 10 million other Hungarians. The chances are so you have Hungarian ancestry, yes. And he, do you know how he survived the war?
He wasn't Jewish, but I think he did survive the war because he did immigrate to America. So
Eventually he so the problem came out in 56, didn't it?
probably.
Yeah, that's what most of us. And there's one over here. Yeah.
Throughout the war, how did you find the strength to keep fighting?
What am I fighting? Look, I don't feel. I mean, we all have that survival instinct, you know. As I said, I did have some hard time here in America, right at the beginning, and a few years later. You survive, you know. It's. I don't know if the Holocaust helped me or the communist times helped me. I do a lot of things, you know. My husband had cancer and cancer surgery and so on. What do? We wrote a play, a musical actually, while we were in the chemotherapy, you know. So one fight it, you know. One way or another. Will it ever get to stage? Probably not, but who cares? We had a good time.
Have you ever gone back to Hungary?
Yes, and thanks for asking, because I forgot to mention. Yes, I did. Every 5 years or so, I go back to Hungary, and less and less I particularly like it. But this summer, my children, my 2 sons, asked me that I go back to Budapest with them and their children. I have 3 grandchildren and their wives, and I show them how I survived the Holocaust. So it's going to be this story told by location. And once I looked like that, actually, you know. And so that's it.
We just want to say thank you again for coming, and again, thank you to GDF and Facing History and Ourselves for allowing Marika to come share her story with us. And this is for you.